Well, good afternoon everybody and welcome to the Colour Cave. It's Jem here and today we are going to start a new colour along. I am really excited and I'm absolutely overwhelmed at the number of people that have followed along to previous colour alongs, and true to my word, I did say that for the next one we would not be colouring anything with a lot of leaves and flowers in it because we've done a lot of that already. So this new book that we have in front of us is Animorphia by Kerby Rosanes, who is one of my very favourite illustrators. So I have picked a picture in here which I will reveal to you now. So fingers crossed that some of you have this book and you have not already coloured this page and we can do it together. Just have to find it now. There we go. I have decided on some fish. I am going to do both of these pages, so it might take a little bit of time, but one of the things I wanted to ask, and hopefully I'll get some comments with some responses, that would be fab, everyone. Let me know whether you want to see me colour both fish, because I will be using the same technique for both of them, and I will split it up and colour other parts of the picture to break it up in between times, but I can just do one fish and you can go ahead and do the other one yourself, or I can do one in full and perhaps maybe do a time lapse on the other one. Please let me know your thoughts. I'm always open to input for things like that because the last thing I want is anyone being bored to death while we're doing this. So just before we get started, I just want to explain a few of the preliminaries for the benefit of everyone and so that people understand how I've arrived at the conclusions that I have. The first thing I wanted to do was pick some colours, and I know for some of you deciding on a colour scheme can be a taxing affair. So I just wanted to show you how my sort of thought process and how I've arrived at what I have. So the first thing that I want to do is bring out my colour wheel. When I looked at this picture initially, I was inspired by my lovely nail colour that I have on at the moment. This is a precursor to my wedding nails. I have grown my nails for my wedding. I'm not going to have them this colour at the wedding though, I'd just like to point that out. But seeing as they were so long and beautiful, I decided to paint them. And I have decided that my background colour would be the colour of my nails because I think that would look really good. So that was my starting point, weirdly, for this picture. I was really keen on using some either watercolour pencils or something like that for the background because it is a watery scene. However, having done a little test on the back page, I wasn't happy with the amount of buckling in the paper, even just using a small amount of water. So I have decided against that. I have picked a soft pastel colour that matches my nails and I've decided to use that, so I will be doing my background last. So if I bring the colour wheel along here, go to the area where we're into these sort of turquoisey colours. Now there isn't one that matches my nails exactly, that's beside the point now, forget the nails now. This was the sort of idea I was going for the background, and I wanted at least two other colours because my thinking was with the fish I could have one colour for the body and one colour for the fins and the tail, and maybe sort of blend them together at some point. So what I did was I took my colour wheel and I wanted to go for a split complementary colour scheme. So knowing that one of my colours was wanting to be this turquoise colour, I had a bit of a fiddle about with it and, you know, looked at what options it was going to give me. So if I had this at the top point of my triangle, and if you just follow this white triangle in the middle, that would give me pink and orange, which could be quite nice colours for fish, but it wasn't tickling my fancy. So what I did was I shifted that round and I put the turquoisey colour as one of the corner colours, because the main part of the picture for me is going to be these, you know, the fins, whereas the background and the body of the fish will kind of like the amount of space that they take up on the paper is what I mean, will probably be equal to that of the fins. So I was thinking that this is my background colour and that's given me sort of purple colours. Like bluey purple colours. So I thought if I had the background turquoise and the body of the fish in a sort of purpley colour, that would give me oranges to use for the fins and the tail. So I'm hoping that that makes sense to you. So it's really the surface area of the page is this plus this, and those two are almost equal to what's down here. So I'm going to have a balance, hopefully, of the colours on the page. When I first looked at the picture, and again I think it's a gut reaction to what we know, orange fish is quite a, you know, quite a common thing because obviously we have goldfish, and I kind of didn't want to do that either, so that was another reason why I flipped this round to see what else I could do with it. So I really hope that makes sense. I think I kind of went a roundabout road in explaining that there. Really what I'm trying to do is I want to explain what I'm doing so that you guys, even if you don't want to use the colours that I'm using, you have an idea of how to go about picking out colours if it's something you're unsure of, or even if it's just one of those pictures where you're just stuck and you've no idea where to start. So bearing that in mind, I have got a test sheet here that I was fiddling about with colours. This is my pastel that I'm going to use for my background, and you can see that is almost a damn near perfect match. I was quite impressed with myself for that one. Anyway, so what I wanted to do was pick out some purples. So what I did was, based on this and going roughly by this colour here, which is marked G, when I went to look at the next colour in my sequence in that G section, I tried to find a pencil to match that colour and use that as my mid colour. So what I have come up with then is a light and a dark based around that. Now that middle colour, the closest thing I could find in the Prismacolor range was Parma Violet, which is PC1008. So I picked in a light and a dark on either side of that to give me some highlights and some shadows and something that's going to blend well together. And you can see I actually had 3 attempts to find the one that suited me best. And that one there, I'm just going to hold this up to save me having to mess about with the camera. I felt that the darkest colour was too blue and it wasn't blending well. And in this one, the darkest colour was the same, nearly the same as the mid colour. So this is what I've settled on here. So those 3 pencils that I'm going to use for the body of the fish, I have Dioxazine Purple Hue, PC132, and I also have Lilac, which is PC956, in addition to that Parma Violet, which is my middle colour. I did exactly the same with the oranges, and I've settled on Eggshell, which is PC140. You can see that. My mid-tone, which again was the colour I matched up with the colour wheel, with the G section in the colour wheel, is Yellowed Orange, which is PC1002. Now again, this is one of my old Prismacolors, that's why the writing's gold. It's exactly the same colour as the new one, so don't panic. And my darkest colour is Mineral Orange, which is PC1033. So that is the main colours I'm going to be using, and that is going to take up the bulk of the picture, bar my background. So that's going to be our starting point today. So I'm aware that I've been rambling on for a good nearly 10 minutes now, so I think it's time to do some colouring. I'm going to start on this page because I am left-handed and it is easier for me to work over here rather than start on this page and start squishing things about. Again, because we're using Prismacolors, that's more likely to happen. So I have got all my purples here and they are nice and sharp. And I'm going to do what I usually do to begin with, and I just want to start with a really light layer of the various colours, and that's just for colour placement so that I know that I'm happy with where I'm laying things down. You can see here he has put in some extra lines to provide some shading, and it is quite heavy on the edge of the fins as well. So I'm kind of taking that into consideration when I start to put the colours down. I'm going to take my lightest colour first, and that is the Lilac, and I'm just going to put a very light layer on the whole of the body of the fish all the way. And again, I'm holding my pencil really far up. It's something I've got used to doing now, and I'm just really lightly, wishy-washy, you know, just to get that kind of first base colour down and give us a sort of grounding to work on, if you like. Now there are 2 schools of thought when tackling fish scales, and you can either treat them as a whole, as in look at the picture as the body of the fish. Now if I was to have a light source, then it would hit on a certain part of the fish. So if I was thinking about the colouring the fish as a whole, I would have probably one area that ran down the body of the fish a lot lighter than the rest of it. The other school of thought is individual scales. And you can see that Kerby has left you these little lines to indicate that they are in shadow. That's going to take a long time to do. And quite frankly, I don't have the patience for it. I really, really don't. I think that would be a situation where my colouring would get stressful because I'd be worrying about getting the shades right on every single scale. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go in the middle. I think I'm going to go with this idea that maybe the light's coming down, from above, and I will have a highlighted section that runs all the way down the body of the fish, following the shape of the fish, so it is going to be slightly curved. And what I will do is, in those areas, I will only use the two lightest colours to colour the scales in. So we're still having a bit of that individual detail on each of the scales, but we're not going to be spending hours trying to figure out what colour should go where on every single scale. That will become more apparent as we go along, so please bear with me. I know I'm rambling a lot, but I'm trying my best to explain what I'm doing so that it's helpful to people. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my darkest colour, and I'm going to colour in the places where it's obvious that it is the darkest colour. Now in here under this sort of jawline area is a perfect example. So again, just using a very light layer, but we're now going on top of our first layer of pencil. I'm just going to follow the lines that Kerby has so kindly left us. And I'm just going to put a little light layer in under there, all the way to the edge like this. So that's off to a good start. I think a good idea when you're working with things like scales, it is a good idea to just take a tiny section at a time, just to make things a little bit easier for us. So I'm just going to think about this tiny little section in here, this tiny, tiny little triangle. You can see where the light is shining on the eyeball of the fish. And to me, that's a really good clue as to where my highlight should be. So if you can imagine a line running from just the edge of his top lip there, through there, over the top of that gill, and down there. So really, my highlight wants to be about 2/3 of the way up. So bearing that in mind, and now that I've decided that that's what I'm doing, this section down here is going to be pretty dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my two darkest colours, which is the dioxazine purple and the mid-tone, which is a Parma Violet. And where I have started this dark area, I am just going to go to the edge of the scales and use the mid-tone colour, just a medium pressure, and start to blend it into that darker colour, like this. And then I can go back in with my darker one and bring it up through. This paper takes Prismacolor pencils really well, and you can get a really nice number of layers on the go with them. So that's the plan, that's what I'm going for. So I'm just working this tiny little section. There's no point in overwhelming yourself with stuff like this. It's just baby steps, baby steps. Now the thing I like about this dark purple is it is very, very dark. It does go very dark. If you put a good couple of layers down, you know, you're kind of like, if you wanted to go any darker, you'd be into greys or blacks. Now again, I'm just thinking about the position of the scales and the way that they're sitting. And this little section here, I don't know what this is called. There is a scientific name for this, I do not know it. The part that the fin is attached to, it comes over the front, so I'm just going to put a tiny dark line underneath there as well, just to indicate that, acknowledge that it's overlapping. And then back in with that mid-purple. There we go, lovely jubbly. And so on and so forth. So I'm just going to put in my darker areas here. Lighten that off a bit. And I'm just doing the usual here. I'm putting a really heavy line down right in against the line art, and then I'm just feathering it out in little circly motions so that I can blend it in with that lighter colour. This one that's tucked in behind the fin here, I'm just going to go for it and make it all the darkest colour. It's so far in behind there, you're not going to see much of that, I don't think. And this one here. That looks pretty good. Now you may be thinking to yourself, oh wow, this is going to be really dark, but I promise you it's not. It's just because we've started in this little dark corner here. Things will lighten up after that. So just while we're in the vicinity, we might as well, while we're in the vicinity, again, I'm starting with my darkest colour, and I'm just going to lightly, this is a very, very light, because this is a very, very dark pencil. I'm just going to tickle in, again, where Kerby's left us, he's kindly left us some guidance, and I'm just going to fill in over the top of those little lines that he's left us, and I'm going to do the same up here as well, very lightly, and underneath his eye here too. Now we're going to build this up, perhaps with some of the other colours as well, so don't panic too much. This little part in here, again, I'm going to press hard. I'm going to make that really dark, and just lighten up a little bit as I come towards this other area. Now this is quite good because it gives us guidance for our highlight, because we want this highlight to run in between basically the edge of there and also the top of the gill. So that's actually really, really helpful. I'm going to use my lightest pencil, which is the lilac, and I'm just going to give myself a guideline. I'm doing this with a really, really light hand, but this is just to remind me where the highlight is, so that if I get carried away with the pencil, then I know where I'm stopping. So just a little scumbly line, as light as you can make it, but obviously you need to be able to see it. That's, you know, that kind of makes sense. This part here will probably end up being quite light anyway, but it's just to keep us right while we're doing all the other parts of the picture. So I'm just bringing that in behind that gill, down his head. Okay, so now even on camera, I mean, it is very light, but you can still see that on camera as well. And I just want to carry that on in this rough sort of semicircle. Now what's happening is, because we have that light layer down from earlier, the pigment is sticking and it is visible, but it is still light enough that we will be able to erase it should we decide we want to make it lighter and brighter. We have other options as well, like using a bit of white pencil over the top of it, that kind of thing, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, it's just there as a guideline to keep us right, so that when we get into dealing with our scales and everything, that we don't get carried away with ourselves and ruin it. Okay, so now that that's in, I think I've gone a little bit wonky in the middle here. I might have to move that up slightly, but that's just there, as I say, as a guideline for us, which is ideal. That's what we want. So back to the Parma Violet, which is my mid-tone, and I'm going to use this underneath. Now this is light pressure, very, very light pressure. And I'm just going to bring that up to where our highlight is, and then follow the jawline down underneath, under here as well. Really, really light. And I'm probably going to bring that up to around his mouth as well. Oh, he looks like a happy chappy, doesn't he? I don't know what it is, but when I'm colouring in things, I tend to refer to them in the masculine. I don't know why that is. Okay, now I've got the lilac here, which is my lightest colour, and I'm just filling in his lip, and I'm leaving a tiny little white ridge. You can see that it is the finest sliver of white, but I'm just going to leave that there. And I'm using a medium pressure now, but I'm going very, very gently. And I'm just going to bring this down on top of what we've just coloured, like so, down to here. And then I'm going to go back in with this Parma Violet. And just start going back over and blending that in with the lilac. Again, I'm still at the guideline stage here. I'm not committing to colours, but it's starting to take shape in my head now as to what I'm trying to achieve. And I'm going to go back up over this dioxazine purple, which was the darkest purple on these little lines. I don't want, because it is such a dark purple, I don't want it standing out absolutely everywhere. But this is the joy of working in layers, because you can mix and match and build them up until you've got just the right shade of what it is you're looking for. Back to the lilac. I'm going to continue up from this shaded area, and I'm just going to give this a slightly heavier layer right up to our highlight. Give him a bit more colour about his face. Talk about being green at the gills, where we're lilac at the gills. Now what I want to do here is I want to try and give the illusion of a little bit of three-dimensional shape, a little bit of a curvature. So I'm going to put another coat of the lilac just in this area here, a bit like a cheekbone on a person. Do fish have cheekbones? I think they might have cheekbones, I don't know. I don't think they do they? Who knows? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Parma Violet, my mid-tone, and I'm just going to start working round about that area. And it's a bit like preserving a highlight, except we're doing it in lilac. So I'm going to bring that round here and round under his eye as well, because that's, again, that I imagine that would be slightly darker under there as the sketch lines are indicating to us. And I'm just building that. I'm kind of just going round in a circle. I'm trying to keep a light handle because I do want to blend the lilac in, because eventually, remember that this is going to end up nearer this shade. So it's important that we work between the two pencils and just get that definition, but also it's a smooth transition, you know, that we don't want any harsh lines. So I'm just working in the lilac. That's looking pretty good. And then back to my mid-tone. Building that up underneath. Back down into this area. So I'm kind of starting to join things up now. Up here, what I want to do is, where this little sort of crease is, I'm going to bring a really heavy line of that right up to the top, and then just leave it white, the same way as I've done at the very tip of the lip. So I'm just going to stop there for now, because I haven't decided what I'm doing with this inside edge. But I'm bringing this back down, starting to sort of join everything up. So I'll bring that all the way around there. Again, up to my highlight line, and I'm just going to stop about there, because that's where we decided our sheen on our fish is going to go. And I'm going to do the same at the other side now. I'm back to a really light hand, just those nice wee light scumbling motions. Start to build up some colour now and take this up to our line. Now on his top lip, I've already sort of done it accidentally, but you can see I've left a very, very slight white rim. I'm going to keep that, but only from the highlight area upwards. See, we can build up more layers and more colour if that's what we want to do. But just take it a tiny piece at a time until you've got the desired effect. I'm back in with the dark purple again. The original layer of the dark purple that I put in, you can see it's kind of sort of petered out. It's got lost in the other layers now. So I'm just going to bring that back in, and it's just to sort of define that as a darker area again. Trying to keep within the boundaries of those little sketch lines that Kerby has left us. There we go. And another layer of Parma Violet down under this jawbone. So you can see now that I'm adding this layer, it's starting to look a lot more like the colour that's down here, and that's what we want because it is on the, you know, the bottom side of the fish, and we decided the light source was coming from the top. So we want to get that. Doesn't have to be exactly the same, but we want it somewhere near. That's looking pretty good to me. Now back in with my lilac here. Start to build this up. I want this quite dark in here, I think. Not dark, but you know what I mean. Heavier. And back to my mid-tone. And here. Now this sort of C-shape motion that I'm using, it's really just to follow the curvature of this gill, and again it's to give that impression that there is a curvature there and it extends round the side of the face area as well. I'm just going to do the same on this side a little bit. And join this colour up now as well. I can see the light is quite bright on here now that the sun has just come out, hooray! And it's actually quite good because you can see the difference between the two shades very, very clearly here. But you can also see quite a lot of the tooth of the paper, so we are going to have to do some burnishing either with a white pencil or a blender pencil. It's something that I don't do until I'm absolutely happy that everything is in the right place, because once you've put that blender pencil on, there ain't no going back. So I'm back in with my lilac here now. And really just start to blend this in. Gonna have to give him a name, this little fishy dude. I haven't quite decided what it's going to be yet though. So back to my mid-tone now. Go back over this to sort of bring it all together. Okay, so working with the lilac now. I'm going to keep this really light, but I'm just going back over what I've done. You can't see that at all. Oh. Who put the light on? There we go. How's that? And just back over it again. So technically that's 3 layers of lilac there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very lightly bring that up. Now this is, you know, I'm not putting any pressure on this at all. I'm just letting the pencil sort of walk over the page. Like this. And then when we come down on the underside of our highlighted area, I'm going to start pressing a bit. Can you see that? Can you see this here? That's like a bit of blue pigment that's come out my pencil. I've had this happen with Prismacolors before. You see this blue line? That has come out of my pencil. How very strange. Okay, we're going to have to work that in somehow. I don't know what we're going to do with it, but we'll figure it out. Anyway, so lilac. Yes, it's not blue, it's lilac, I promise. Oh my. We're going to have to give him a blue lip, I think. I'm just going to start blending this all together now. Hopefully no more blue comes out, because that could be an issue. Wow. And as I did down here with this darkest part, I'm just putting a little bit more under his eye here. Swing that up and round a little bit. Okay, so I'm still not happy with this jawbone area, so I'm going back in with my, wrong pencil, I'm going back in with my darkest pencil, and I'm now going to extend that above those sketch lines that Kerby has left us. And I'm just going to bring that all the way down, just to give us a bit of definition. There we go, that's better. That's much better. Back with my lilac, and again I'm just working on joining these two areas up. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And when I come round here, I'm back to this highlighted area. And I just want to work up and again sort of join it together, join it up with where the highlighted area is. And as I did on this side, I'm just going to put a little bit more over the top there, and I'm just going to stop it there because we're going to just deal with his head. And just tickling the paper here like I did before. Just going to put that all up in there like that. What I want to do is, I want to take my mid-tone, and I'm going to turn the page slightly for this just because it's easier to do. From here, I am just going to, well, the first thing I'm going to do is sharpen my pencil for a start. I am just going to put the finest of this medium, purple on top of his little nose, and I'm going to bring that down and round and along to where we've decided to stop at the edge of the scales. And I'm just going to put a little feathered edge in that, so just wee circular motions just to soften that edge up. Like this. So you can see now that that is starting to build up that highlighted area. So the highlight is not hitting him right on the top of his head. It's actually slightly to the side. And this is what's going to coincide with where we've left this guidance stripe, if you like. But you have to be very, very careful and do it gently and do it a section at a time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going back over my first line that's right up against the edge of the line art. And I'm just going to darken it down a little bit. And I would say I'm probably mid-pressure now. Not too heavy in case we want to go over it with something else. And just, again, the same as before, just blend that out a little bit. So that's it. It's now touching where I had drawn in my highlight originally. So that's pretty good. But what you can see is we do have quite a harsh line here. So using that lighter colour, which is the lilac, I'm just going to blend that out a teeny weeny little bit, just to give it a better transition. And I'm actually going over the top of the darker colour that I've already used, just making those circly motions a wee bit bigger. That line looks really harsh on the camera, but when you're looking at it with the naked eyeball, it doesn't look as harsh as that. However, we are zoomed in quite far. When I zoom out when I'm finished, I will show you that it looks okay, I promise. I still don't know what I'm going to do with this blue bit though. I'm going to have to do something with it. I might try and... Okay, this is risky, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just using the dioxazine purple, and I'm just going to give him some lipstick. I'm just going to try and cover it up because it is quite dark. This may or may not work. Don't try this at home, kids. I'll give him a bit underneath so at least it's matching. And I'm just going to try and blend that out as best I can. Naturally, hopefully you guys' pencils are considerably better than mine and you don't have this same problem. Okay, do you know what? I can live with that. Yeah, I can deal with that. That's okay. I'll maybe try and get a little bit of the lilac up in here though. Oh, okay, right, I'm going to leave it at that for that little section because I think I'm just going to end up making it worse. Don't you love it when stuff goes according to plan? It's just wonderful. I'm also going to leave this section here as light as it is as well. So I'm quite happy that so far his head's looking okay, including his blue lip. I really want to do things with this. I'm just not happy with it at all. Okay, maybe that, I'm gonna have to leave it at that, I think. Just stop, Jem. And taking this mid-tone, which is the Parma Violet, I am just gonna come in this side of his eye. And I am going to just gradually gradiate to almost nothing again, up to that highlighted area. And take my lilac and just put a tiny, tiny little tickle above his eye. Just so that there's some colour on the paper. Okay. And using my darkest colour, I'm going to go back. I'm going to call this his eyebrow. Is that okay? We'll make this his eyebrow. Just, again, darken that down a bit. Give it a bit of definition. Which makes the highlight underneath pop out a bit more. So that's just fab. Okay, let's do his little hand. Hand. Really, really heavy pressure. Letting go of that a little bit. Into the Parma Violet. Blend that in. And I'm going to bring this most of the way in to create a little sort of halo round about the outside. And then I'm going to take my lilac, which needs sharpened already. And I am going to fill in this halo area. Again, I'm going to leave a little white bit at the top just because I can. And just get this all blended in nicely. It is quite a small area to be blending in. Don't, obviously take a bit of time over it and try and get it as good as you can, but don't obsess over it because there's no need. It is a very, very small part of the entire picture, so I wouldn't panic too much about it. Okay, so we're going to do his little baby fin here. So the colours, again, just a quick reminder for that, are the Mineral Orange, which is PC 1033, Yellowed Orange, which is PC 1002, and Eggshell, which is PC 140. Okay? Alright, so I'm going to start with the lightest parts, which to me are going to be the ends of his little fin. So I've got my eggshell, and I'm starting with a really deep, heavy layer right at those very tips. And at this stage it doesn't matter if it's a very definite line or whether you've feathered it out. Again, this is me just sort of deciding on colour placement, but I know that I want the very tips this colour, so that's why I'm not scared. I'm not scared. That's what we want. Okay. And using my darkest colour, I'm going to try and follow, again, the lines that Kerby has left us. In this black part in the middle, I'm just going to get as close as I can into it and get that really nice heavy, oh look at that orange, it looks lovely already. I'm trying to turn this so that I'm not casting a shadow on what I'm doing. That's a bit better. And I'm going to follow his lines up. Just with a slightly lighter hand though, little circular motion. Follow those lines all the way up to my eggshell. I'm going to do the same here. And in this bit too. Now in at the base, heavy pressure, get that nice vibrant orange. I'm not bringing it that far out. Not yet. Now there's a tiny little bit in here and it looks to me like it's tucked in the back, so I'm just going to go for it and I'm going to make that all the darker orange. Yeah, that looks alright. Right, now using my mid-tone light hand, I'm just going to start blending in with the two colours that are there to join everything up. And you can see it blends with that eggshell beautifully. It's not two colours that I would normally have put together, but they seem to blend well together, so that's just a bit of a bonus. There we go. Okay, so now that we've got that layer of the yellowed orange down, I'm going back with my eggshell now, and I'm just going to start really blending that in round that outside edge. It's quite a subtle effect, but you know that it's there. And that's, if you look at, you know, tropical fish, or if you have tropical fish, any colour changes that they have, back to my darkest colour again, I'm going back over my dark areas, any colour changes that are in a gradient on their bodies, it's difficult to see where they start and where they stop sometimes. And it's one of the things I really like about fish. They're very relaxing to watch as well. Someone once told me that when, for relaxation, watching fish can be as relaxing as stroking a cat or a dog, which apparently is a great way to relieve stress. I still say colouring's a good way, but hey, maybe I'm biased. So again, the darkest colour, it's kind of disappeared from these contoured areas, if you like. So I'm just going back in because I do want them to be a different colour. That's quite important to me, to get that sort of idea that the fins are kind of crinkly, you know. Crinkly, I love that word. And we've got these little lines that are coming off, you know, that follow the contours of the fin. So I'm just going to pencil a couple of them in with this darker orange, with the mineral orange. So I'm just going to bring that up and follow these lines a little bit. Not all of them, just one or two. And again, it's more to get the feel of the shape of the fin rather than anything else. And then I can go back in with my middle orange, which is my yellowed orange, and really start to you know, brighten this up, make it vibrant. That's what we want. Blend it in with the other two colours now, and this is the pencil now. It's kind of coming into its true colour, if you understand what I'm saying. A very light layer of anything can quite often not look like the actual colour that it is, because you've used such a light hand. But when you start to build the layers up, you're starting to get to the true saturation, that was the word I was looking for. And that's what we're looking for here, because it is going to stand out, you know, like a sore thumb against this purple. And I can see already, not looking at it with my naked eye, but when I look at it on the screen, because obviously I have a guidance screen up here, I can see the colours are working well together already. So that boosts my confidence instantly with what I'm doing and makes me think that I've made the right choices, which I suppose is always a benefit right now, especially since you guys have, some of you have started colouring along. I can't let you down. There we go. And what that's doing now as well is it's really making that eggshell stand out at the ends. You can see the difference in the, you know, the very sort of pale tips. And again, that's only going to be brought out more when we start to colour the scales that are round about. There we go. Happy with that. That looks good. Right, I think what we'll do is we will do the scales round about the fin, seeing as we were talking about, you know, what it's going to look like. Let's just see what it looks like. This bottom, this kind of border that's round the fish, this is a bit of a tricky one. And I'm just going to take the darkest purple, and I'm just kind of going to go round and put, again, feather out the edge a little bit. I don't want it all to be that really dark colour. I don't know why. I don't have an explanation for that, and I'm sorry. But I'm not feeling it, so I'm not going to do it. This is the other thing as well, for everyone who's listening and not necessarily colouring along, but it's all very well me sitting here and explaining what I'm doing to try and give you a logical reason. When you're colouring, it's down to you. You've got freedom to do anything you want. And if you're not feeling something, or you just don't like the way it looks, you don't have to do things a certain way. Just remember that and go with your gut. And, you know, do what feels right. Because there are sometimes, you know, I go against all the rules of light sources and colours that go together. Sometimes I just don't want to. And that is absolutely 100% a-okay. In fact, I'm a firm advocate of it. I've often talked about how colouring is quite often a creative release. I'm going in with my lightest purple here, by the way, guys. I've decided that that's the way forward. Just along this bottom edge. It's almost like bounce light. Bounce light, you have a light source that comes down and it reflects off a surface, so there could be a rock or anything, you know, a bit further down the picture that we can't see, and it's reflecting some of the light back up onto the bottom of the fiche. So that's why I've decided to go with this lilac. Yeah, so I've completely lost my train of thought now. Yeah, do what you want, do what you feel is right. You don't have to follow the rules all the time. You really, really don't. I say I'm a firm advocate in that, because I always find that colouring's quite liberating, because you can do what you want, and if it doesn't go according to plan, well, you've learned a lesson and you won't do it again. I think people are sometimes far too fearful, and I hear people talking about being intimidated by colouring in certain books and things. The first book I coloured in was Enchanted Forest, and I didn't know any better, so I just did it, and it was great. It was great fun, loved it. Okie dokie, so following Kerby's lines again, I'm just going to work my way around here and fill in my darker patches of these little scales. Right, very, very heavy pressure right in at the base, and then pulling up a little bit as we get to nearer the outside edge of the scale. Now, what I'm aware of is, as I'm going up the way, we're coming towards this highlighted area, and also as well that there is going to be a curvature on the fish, the same way as there is on his cheek area that we've just worked on. So when I get to here, I think I'll maybe make this the last one that's got as much of the dark purple. And what I'll do is, I'll just put a little bit in here, and I will use more of the Parma Violet in at this base here. I'm going to bring that to maybe about there. Yep, okay. And I'm going to do this whole scale just so that I again use it as a marker in case I get carried away with myself. And I'm going to put my lilac in, and I'm going to leave a tiny weeny white spot just there, and I'm going to blend that round back in. Oh, pencil in mouth, sorry guys. Back in with the Parma Violet over the top of the dioxazine and join it up with the lilac. Okay, that's kind of what a finished scale is going to look like. If I go back, because I've got the Parma Violet in my hand, if I go back to these darker scales, I'm just doing the same thing again with the Parma Violet that I did with the lilac. And you can see, because I've got that dioxazine down in such a large quantity within that tiny little space, probably help if I zoom in here a little bit so that you can see better. The scale itself does look a lot darker than the one that's above it. And that is my full intention. And again, because we're talking about a curvature, there is a little bit of light hitting here. When I'm in this sort of bottom third, I'm not going to leave that highlight because it's going to be underneath it. And you know, there's not going to be much light getting to it at all. So that's the logic there. So when I fill in these underscales, as it were, underscales, it's like underwear for fish. I'm just going to go between the dioxazine and the Parma Violet and blend them together and not leave that highlight. Okay, do this one as well while I'm here. God, I'm doing an awful lot of explaining. If you guys are keeping up, hats off to you, because I feel as if I'm just rambling. This little one in here as well. Okay, that dark. Wee feathered edge, lovely stuff. Okay, so now that we're going to go back up around here, see what I mean? Throwing stuff about. Oh my good gracious me. Dear. I'm going to put a little bit of the dioxazine in here just because it's kind of in behind. And then I am going to switch to the Parma Violet and the Lilac, because you can see now we are really, really close to that highlighted area. So it's important that I make sure that we're going to kind of follow that. So that's my darker spot. And with the Lilac, I'm going to blend that in, bring it up round and leave that little highlight and just blend the Lilac in. There we go, lovely jubbly. Now you can be more detailed. I just wanted to explain the first couple so that you know, everyone has grasped the concept, and I'm sure you have by now. I just don't want anyone thinking, oh, okay. So when we get into the highlighted area, I'm just using the Lilac, nothing else. So I'm doing a 1 pencil gradient here. And I'm going to start heavy pressure in at the base of the scale. And as I come up towards this highlighted area, I'm just letting up the pressure. And that is all I'm doing. And I've just joined that on to the guideline that we made. And it's perfect. It's absolutely spot on. That's what we want. Back to my Parma Violet for this one underneath, because this isn't in our guideline area. Keeping it to a minimum. And then taking the Lilac and just leaving a little highlight on that one and blending that in. There we go. This one is in the highlight area, so I'm just using the Lilac. Bring it up. There we go. Smashing. Just make this one a wee bit darker. Wee bit darker. Okay, this is starting to take shape now. It kind of looks like grapes, doesn't it? Is it just me? Once again, when we're back around this fin area, I want to keep the scales that are tucked in beside the fin quite dark. So this one in here, I am going to use my darkest purple, and I'm going to bring it quite far up. And then I'm going to my mid purple, which is a Parma Violet, and I'm going to fill the rest of it in. Now it's up to you. If you want to leave highlights on all the scales, I kind of get that, you know, I understand that, and as always, it is absolutely up to you what you want to do. Now this part's going to be dark as well because it's in behind his little elbow or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to have to look that up. I'm actually going to have to Google that before the next video and find out what that bit's called. If anybody knows, please tell me in the comments. As you know, I'm a person that likes to learn things, and if I learn something like that, I will remember it. I'm kind of good at stuff like that, so pray tell. Okay, so I've kept it quite dark in there, and then I have my Parma Violet again, and I'm just going to blend that in a little bit. Now see, I think I kind of want to leave a highlight on this one, which doesn't really fit in with what I've been doing, but do you know what? My picture, and I'm going to do it. Leave this one dark because it's right in there. A wee bit of dioxazine in this one, just in at that bottom part there. I'm going to migrate into the Parma Violet. Got to sharpen my pencil real soon. Better. Now with this one, again, it's kind of tucked in behind the gill, so we'll follow those Kerby's lines with the darkest colour, and really quickly I'm going to blend that with a little bit of the Parma Violet. And I'm taking the pressure off that really quickly because I'm heading towards, again, this highlighted area. It's important that I make sure that I can get some of the lilac in as well. And again, because we're using Prismas, I mean, they blend so well, this shouldn't be too much of a challenge for you. You should be able to do this without too much hassle. So there we are. I've left kind of a highlight there, but I've also joined it up with the main highlight that goes throughout the fish. So we'll take that. That's okay. That's a bit of artistic license, I think. I would actually love to sit and watch someone colour this, you know, completely technically correct with all the, you know, all the light on the scales in the right place and everything, and follow, you know, a real life colour scheme of a fish just to see what it would look like. I think that would be fascinating to watch. I really do. I'd be right into that. Okie dokie. That's looking pretty good. All right, I think I'm going to stop there. No, I'm not. I'm going to do this bit up here. Just so that we've got, you know, this first sort of portion of our fish finished. I'm just going to carry on and do this little bit up here to show you what it's going to look like when it's a bit more complete. And again, I'm going to have to turn my page, guys. I'm sorry. I know some of you really hate it. So again, I'm back with my Parma Violet, and I've got a nice sharp point, and I'm just going to continue this line on that I did earlier. Stop it about there and feather that edge a wee bit. And this is just to allow me to blend the lilac in. Grab the lilac. Now what we want to do is there is quite a defined highlight line there, and we want to continue that on and make sure it's smooth all the way down this body part. So really, although I'm colouring here, I'm using a really light hand. That my eye isn't looking at this bit, my eye's actually looking at this bit. So, and that's just to make sure that I am going in the right direction and I'm not getting too colour happy with my old gradient here. So I'm going back and forth a little bit just to try and blend it in with the bit we've already done. Some of you might find it easier to do that whole top section in one go just for the sake of getting it even. That is entirely up to you. I tend to work in sections. It feels less, there's less pressure on me and it's less complicated. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm just tickling it, like really tickling this with the lilac, just to sort of bring it together, because when you do look close up it does still look a bit bitty, if that makes any sense. And I'm going to darken my lilac in this wee scale here. Again, this is just like my one pencil gradient type stuff, just to note the overlap and, you know, get a bit of a contrast between the edge of the scale so that it looks as if it's tucked in behind. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to zoom out now just so that you can see what it looks like from a bit more of a distance. There we go. I think our fishy looks pretty good. And you can see when you're further back like this, that highlight looks great. It looks really, really special. And the orange as well is just popping out, which is exactly what I was looking for. So I think we're off to a good start. I know I did a lot of rambling and a lot of explaining in this video, and for that I do apologise, because I know that some of you will be like, oh, just hurry up and do some more colouring, Jem. But now that I've explained what I'm doing, when we come to the next video, this section will be much quicker because we know what we're doing. We'll be into a pattern and we can crack on. If you are enjoying this, then feel free to go ahead and complete the scales if that's what you'd like to do. Some of you might be eager, I don't know. But anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thank you ever so much for watching. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'm really happy to be here and to have you guys watching along too. And we'll not leave it too long until the next instalment. So from me here in the Colour Cave, I hope you have a good day. We'll see you later. Bye, guys.